Part of these 2 days is about team performance, and there's interesting research behind high performance work teams and what are their characteristics. The leadership research says that every leader and every team member needs to be good at about 13 to 15 skill sets. In a high performance work team, those 13 to 15 skill sets can be distributed among the 7 people on the team. That is, in a high performance work team, the leader does not have to be good at those things, but somebody on the team has to be good at them. In non-high performance work teams, every person needs to be good at the 13 to 15 things to get things done. So that's where self-awareness and awareness of others fits in, and it's pretty exciting on a team where you all sit back and say, okay, we're here, we're qualified, that's why we were hired, we've all been put on the team, so we're sort of in the safe zone, and now we can be transparent with one another. And part of the exercise is that I'll show you mine if you show me yours. So based on my career, all of the feedback I've received and all of the 360s I've been through, this is my profile. Of the 13 to 15 things that operate this team, I'm outstanding at 7 of them. I'm pretty bad at 2 of them. The rest of them are in the middle. As we go around the room and people get comfortable with transparency, we share that, and up on the board it shows that we have all 13 to 15 skills covered. Now all that's left then is to deploy, and that's why I use the term leverage. That is, the leader of the team needs to leverage the team members against the task to be done. And the rule shifts from job titles and job definitions and what I'm theoretically accountable for to what is the team accountable for. And in the example of a critical stakeholder that's not happy with the services or products that they've received, and we're going to have a meeting about that, what I want is the 2 or 3 team members who are the best at interacting with angry customers to deal with that meeting, even though theoretically I as team leader should be the one that's leading that. I'm not real good at people in that kind of a setting. And I know that. I've told you all have filled out my 360, you know that. And Susie, Roger, and George are sort of the best people we have for customers. So they're going to run that meeting. I'm going to introduce them and sort of sit in the back of the room and let them process that. So high performance work teams are filled with people of diversity. Not in the racial or gender meaning of diversity, but diversity in terms of skill sets. What we find in teams is that people who are not into the idea of high performance work teams tend to clone themselves. And when they can pick among 3 candidates for an open position on the team, they pick somebody who is like they are. So in my 50 years, I would say that that's more likely than not likely. I meet teams and they're all like the leader. So we have sort of an implicit bias in our brains. We tend to like people who are like us and not like people who are not like us. So we tend to clone and put members on the team that are too much the same. And that kind of a team tends not to cover the 13 to 15 things. So if I'm outstanding as a leader at 7 of those, my team members are also going to be good at the 7 of those because that's why I selected them. So as a team leader of a high performance work team, the key is diversity. The key is understanding the 13 to 15 skill sets or competencies or practices that are going to make this team successful, followed by radical transparency. That is, we're all here, we're all safe. Some of you may not make it, but at the moment I'm going to assume everybody is. And for that reason, we can all be honest with each other and let's do in the team what we're best at. If somebody needs some help, let's be free to give up some of our own personal space and time and help a team member accomplish what they need to accomplish. And that's the engagement equation, that we're all going to do what we're best at. That whole process is called gifts differing. And part of the program that we've been doing here is called gifts differing. That's why everybody's getting feedback. Everybody is improving on self-awareness. When we look at flaws of leaders and flaws of teams, if you look at the dysfunction of teams, we find that there's three things that get in the way. One is listening skills. Oddly enough, as you get promoted in organizations, the higher you get, the less you listen. The reason for that is that you're terminally busy. You are operating on multiple tracks with unrealistic timeframes. And we find that as leaders gain in height in the hierarchy, they spend less time in reflective thinking. They have less tolerance for hearing people out. So almost all leaders have to work on listening skills. The second issue we find that holds teams back is conflict management. It's interesting to watch leaders because they will be very hard on airline desk clerks. They'll be very hard on Kmart service workers to get what they want, but within their own team, with the people who are part of their family, they tend not to be as good in managing conflict. So I spend a lot of my coaching time with senior leaders on those two aspects, which are listening skills and conflict. And then the last one is making tough-minded decisions. Even though we tend to promote intellectually agile and hard people into those leadership positions, and you would think that they could make decisions about talent fairly easily, it turns out it's part of my family, it's too close. One of the processes that does not work very well is performance accountability or performance management. And in our studies over the last 25 years, it's the fifth lowest score of existing leaders. They do not like to give negative critical information back to someone that they have to work with the next day. It's amazing how much negative feedback is available to somebody who announces they're leaving the company. Then all of a sudden, honest critical feedback is delivered. But if you're staying with me next day, you're not. As an example of that, I practice performance management in my family. And I have 5 children, wonderful children. But as the seasons come, as Christmas and gift giving comes, I rank order those 5 children in the value that they've offered to the family. And there are no ties, so it's a stack ranking. And we put that ranking up on a sign on the fireplace. And then they have access to gifts based on their placement in the hierarchy. So we have what's called a merit gift chart. And the first family member who has contributed the most to the family gets to go whatever present they want to get. And then we just, depending upon how many presents there are, that same selection sequence. Because I have 5, each year I ask the lowest ranked child to leave the family. And they have to go out, and we generally place them with an adoption agency. And then I go to that agency and try to get a better kid back each year. So I go out in the marketplace and try to get a better kid than the one that I put into the adoption market. Now, that process has been very successful, but that's what we're asking team leaders to do. We are asking team leaders annually to stack rank their team on performance. we have a merit guide chart, not a merit gift chart. So we give out pay raises and bonuses based on that stack ranking. All of the research that's ever been done shows that on most teams where this technology has not been applied, there's a 2.5 times difference between your best person in the team and your least person in the team. So theoretically, if you let your lowest stack ranked child go, you have a 50% chance of increasing the value of the family to be a higher performing family if you just go out in the marketplace and hire somebody with a flip of a coin. So one of the hardest things you have to do as a team leader is to think through that stack ranking. It doesn't make the lowest person bad. It is most likely our mistake that we hired that person and put them on the team. Doesn't mean we have to be mean to them. Doesn't mean that we have to make them feel bad. What it means is we need to get them placed in life at a better place than they are now, because they will struggle as the lowest stack ranked employee over time, could lead to physical issues, mental issues. So it's actually a service to make hard, tough-minded decisions on people and get them in a better place. It is very hard for line managers to do that. That's why their performance ratings tend to be very flat. So everybody sort of gets the same performance. I've run several bonus or incentive systems in my career, and the majority of managers take whatever number we give them. So you've got $17,000 to spend with 7 people. They will divide by 7 and give everybody the same. So tough-minded decision making is part of EQ. It's part of being people smart, and it's part of being a high productive work team, and it's part of getting great things done. And it's probably one of the hardest things for leaders to do. So I empathize, I sympathize, but if you don't do that, we're not going to be a great company.